Hello, hello. Welcome back to Owning Your Sexual Self. Today, we are talking about something that sits right at the heart of intimacy, desire, and connection, and it's authenticity. If you're watching this, you probably see, like, wow, did she even get ready for this podcast? And, I was like, I'm recording about authenticity. I thought about going and getting ready and washing my face and changing my sweater and whatever. But I was like, you know what? In true form of authenticity, I'm just going to show up as me today, as I usually do on this podcast. Sometimes I have this effect when guests come on and they look all like dressed up and like done to the nines. I'm like, damn, I could have maybe thrown on some lipstick today, or I could have maybe, put some makeup on. But this is how we roll. Authentic, baby. So you get me post gym, post spray tan. Got a pimple that I've been trying to get rid of on my forehead, right? Looks like a freaking third eye there. But here we are. And so many people think the biggest barrier to intimacy is communication skills or compatibility, there is some truth to that. You've heard me talk about that on the podcast. But when I see again and again in my work, there is the underlying fear, which is the real barrier. Um, Again, that is fear, right? Like that real underlying barrier is fear. So fear of being rejected, the fear of being too much, the fear of being not enough. I was just talking about this with a couple clients this morning. And when fear is present, we start performing safer versions of ourselves. And all over time, that performance slowly erodes closeness and trust and even desire. So today, I have a guest on with me, Jocelyn Silva, and we're going to talk about what it really looks like to practice relentless authenticity in relationships. So let's get into this. All right. Hi, Jocelyn. Thank you so much for coming onto the show today. So excited to have you here.
Hello, me too. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Yes, all the way from Mexico, much warmer than I'm sure it is here in Michigan today. So,
It's pretty warm. It's been windy, but it is warm. It's like
yes,
hot wind.
yes. One of the women that I work with also lives in Mexico, and we have Zoom meetings multiple times a week, and she always wears the tube tops too. And same as you did today, she's always like, "I swear I'm not naked," and it's like we work with in sex, like it's okay if you're naked. We actually don't mind.
I know, right? I should have just showed up naked then.
Ah, that's so funny. Yeah, I will have to when we pop off, maybe I'll see like where you are in location and maybe you guys could link up and become friends. Like I would love to be a little Cupid for you
And
because
we can wear tube
she's
tops
amazing.
together. Oh yeah,
Exactly.
I'd love
Exactly.
that. I'm down.
Yeah. So tell us, yeah, like how'd you get into this journey? Like how did you grow up thinking like, oh, I'm gonna talk about sex when I grow up and then yeah, like learn, okay, I want to do like empowerment and authenticity.
No, absolutely not. They're quite the opposite. Actually, yeah, I grew up in like heavy purity culture. I went to Catholic school, kinder to 12th grade. So I actually wanted to be a nun when I was 16. Like I legit
Wow,
was
plot
like
twist.
my yeah, plot twist. I know. It was, yeah, I was very, very involved in my parish. Like, I came out in the Stations of the Cross. I was a lector. I was an altar server. In high school, I stopped hanging out with my friends and I would eat lunch in the chapel at my school because I was so scared of sinning,
Mm.
because I was afraid of going to hell. So yeah, talk about a plot twist. This was not something I always wanted to do, but I've always been just like a horny person. Like growing
Mhm.
up, I remember just always being like a really sexually curious child, right? And a sexually curious adolescent. And I remember actually my first boyfriend, I met him on MySpace. He wanted to be a priest. So weird. He wanted to be a priest. I wanted to be a nun. And obviously, we were dating. And when you're 16, you're like exploring each other's bodies. And we used to be like, okay, we're gonna give each other head. But before we do, we need to like make sure that we go to confession this week. We need to pray 3 rosaries this week together. We need to give a sacrifice. So one day of this week, we're not going to speak to each other. And then, like, we should be good to go. Like, okay, deal. And then we'd like do sexy stuff. And it got to a point where, like, the priest at my school was like, you don't need to come once a week. You're fine with coming once a year. And I was like, no, Father, you don't understand. Like, I'm doing really bad things. I'm going to go to hell. So, talk about the shame. Like, the shame was deeply ingrained in me. So, it wasn't until I was 18 when I left the Catholic Church, I started college and I started dating this guy. I had like penetrative sex for the first time. The skies parted, the angels sang, and I was like, who the hell said something's wrong with sex? This is amazing. And that's what just catapulted me into the journey of like figuring out like, oh my God, like how come I have been lied to my whole life and made to feel terrible about something that's so amazing?
Hmm.
And, that's when I just started learning all I could about sexuality and started becoming super passionate about helping people embrace their own sexual expression as well.
Hmm. Yeah. Gosh, yeah, like just speaking like the liberation that it sounds like that you felt in that experience. Like, yeah, freeing and starting then to like question the narratives that you were taught and raised with. It's like this doesn't yeah, this doesn't make sense. And like and as I find as we get older, especially people with a religious background like purity culture, it's like when you start to make that shift of questioning things, it's like very fascinating. It's like you're battling with that shame of like, am I bad? Is this wrong? Like, what's going to happen to me? But then also, it's like it feels that like that empowerment that like, okay, I'm gonna actually do what I think is right or what like feels good to me. Not like, why would I continue to practice something that makes me feel like shit? You know?
Hmm. Yeah. I think the thing that I felt the most at that time was anger.
Hmm.
I remember feeling just like so fucking pissed. I can cuss, right?
Yes,
I
please,
remember
please.
just feeling so fucking pissed that I was made to feel terrible about something that I had discovered was so amazing. And I was really lucky too, because the first time I had sex was with my second boyfriend, and he was lovely. Like he was this like gothy guy. We like had sex to Bauhaus and we like lit incense and candles and he was so gentle and sweet with me that I was just like, who the fuck said something's wrong with this? It was, yeah, a lot of anger that I experienced during that time for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. So you are a teenager now, right? And so you start having sexual experiences. It just progresses from there. And then how did you discover like, okay, this is actually like a profession or this is something that I want to do with my time as an adult?
Well, it's been a whole journey. So, as things happen, the pendulum swing from one extreme to the other,
Mhm.
in my case. So I went from being uber conservative and like shameful about my sexuality to being so reckless with my body.
Mhm.
After I broke up with my second boyfriend, I was just under the guise of like, I'm a feminist, I'm like a cute young Latina girl, and I just like, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want with my body. And so throughout my 20s, I engaged in a lot of like unethical sexual behavior.
Mhm.
Just like not respecting myself, not being honest with my partners. But at 20 years old, I had already told myself, oh, I want to be a sex educator, I want to be a sex therapist, right? And I already knew that that's what I wanted to do. But to be honest, it didn't fully get solidified for me, at least for me, like the feeling of I can actually help people until my fucked up behavior landed me in a program for sex and love addiction
Mhm. Mhm.
at like 28.
Mhm.
And that's when I was like, okay, like some changes need to be made because clearly how I'm living my life right now is not sustainable. It's not kind to others and it's really hurting people. And that's when I really realized, like, okay, like I had already known that I wanted to be a sex therapist, but I feel like after going through that experience, it almost made me feel like this level up of like,
Mhm.
I have been where my clients are. I've
Mhm.
experienced the shame. I know what it feels like to be a cheater. I know what it feels like to seek validation in another person and to lack spirit and to like go through a spiritual breakdown
Mhm.
where there's nothing that I believed in because I left the church and I became an athist. So I had no moral compass,
Mhm.
right? And then trying to find that validation and love through my sexuality. So I think throughout that journey, after that, that's when I was like, okay, how can I help people get to a place where they're honest with themselves, where they can embrace their sexualities, heal their shame, and how can I turn this into an actual profession? So,
Mhm.
like I said, I've already been on that path, but I think that for me was the moment where I was like, I can do this,
Mhm.
and I can do this with my own testimony of what's happened to me and, all the mistakes that I've made in my life.
Mhm. Yeah. And then that sounds like that's like really what led you into our conversation today around authenticity and I like that you like pointed out the um do I yeah like boundaries essentially to have with self and being able to notice really, again, like one extreme to the other, being able to notice where that unhealthy, like not so good, like feeling and actions were coming from, and just the courage and the vulnerability that it takes to then choose something else, right? And like go against like the way that you've been doing things. So that's, yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's like very admirable.
Yeah, thanks. Unfortunately, I had like the change came about some really, really shitty things that happened,
Hmm.
right? Like I got married, I got caught cheating. Um, I went through like a suicidal phase because I just thought like who the fuck would love me? I'm a monster, I'm a piece of shit, like I'm a terrible person, you know? Which is why I feel my like a responsibility to my younger self to like eradicate that behavior and that energy that I put out into the universe, but also because I know what it feels like to be in a space where you don't want to it's weird. It's interesting because the lying, the cheating, the manipulation is almost like as a result of like people pleasing.
Hmm.
And like this fear of like people aren't going to love me if I tell them the truth. So let me lie so that they
Hmm.
will still love me. I'm going to spare their feelings, right?
Yeah.
But then the dishonesty just creates more separation. It creates more chaos, right?
Hmm.
Um, and that was like I learned definitely learned things the hard way. And I don't want people to have to learn things the hard way if they
Hmm.
don't have to, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Hmm.
One thing before we were chatting, like one thing that you shared that really stood out to me is that the biggest barrier to intimacy isn't necessarily the lack of skills, it's fear. And so I want to ask you, like, why do you think that being truly authentic feels so threatening when we're in intimate partnerships?
Yeah, so I have gone on such a deep dive on this because I remember, when I was in Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, just feeling like, how the fuck did I get here? Like, I came from a good family. My parents are still together. Like, my parents rock. I love my parents. I have great brothers. Like, I went to Catholic school. Like, I don't understand where things went south. And I think that Gabor Mate, he's a clinician that studies addiction, really laid it out in a way that I understood it the best. And I definitely feel like this was my experience. So, and I think this is a phenomenon that happens with like probably the vast majority of us. So growing up in purity culture means that I had a lot of shame. Not only did I have a lot of shame around my sexuality, but I also felt this pressure to have to be somebody that I wasn't because I received this message that if I was my authentic self, I wouldn't be loved,
Hmm.
right? And so what Gabor Mate, what his studies talk about is when you are raised in an environment where you learn that being yourself is not okay, the child has to choose attachment over authenticity,
Hmm.
right? So we forego authenticity for the sake of attachment.
Hmm.
And I definitely feel like in my case, and I know in like many other people's case, that's what happens is you
Yeah.
choose between, am I going to keep this attachment alive
Hmm.
or do I run the risk of losing it, but then I get to be myself?
Hmm.
And so when you're raised in that environment, it's really hard because the child needs the parents to survive. So of course they're going to choose attachment,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
They're not going to choose the authentic route. So then as adults, it's our responsibility to really learn like, okay, how do I become an authentic person and use my authenticity as a filter
Hmm.
for the people that will appreciate my authenticity versus foregoing my authenticity so that I can keep connections alive, even though those connections feel chaotic or out of alignment with my truest self.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I've never heard it broken down that way. Thank you so much. Like that makes so much sense. I think it's right. Yeah, if you think of like our younger selves, like all we wanted was to be loved and to be liked and to be accepted. And so when we learn those cues of what other people like, right, for me, it was like getting good grades, playing sports. Like when I learned that, oh, like I get a lot of accolades and attention when I do these things, I'm gonna keep doing these things, right? Lo and behold, high functioning anxious person in my adulthood that I've been able to work through and grow through. But Yeah, I think that that makes again so much sense. And I just finished up Brene Brown's book, Gifts of Imperfection, and she talks a lot about this in the book, about like how important it is to choose our authentic selves and those people that aren't. It's like get on the train or fuck off, right? Like I can't think of the figure of speech right now. Like bus is
That's a perfect
leaving.
one. Get on the
Yeah,
train or fuck off. Or I
yeah.
always say crap or get off the pot. Like I'm
Yeah, it's
not
like,
dealing with this
are
shit.
you with me or are you not? And if you're not, like, okay, it was nice. Like this relationship has met its course. Like it was nice to know you, and I wish you the best. It doesn't. This would be a whole separate podcast, probably on like friendship breakups and all of that. But yeah, I think that we hit a point in our adulthood where it's like no fucks given anymore, and we get to make this shift and choose. Yeah, choose us instead of like needing to be chosen by others.
Yeah. And you know what I find? Like in the closest friends that I have are usually, the closest friends that I have are people that are really great with boundaries.
Hmm.
And I noticed that since going on this journey, I actually feel like I can trust and respect people that have boundaries way more than people that don't,
Mm-hmm.
right? When someone says like, "Hey Jocelyn, actually, I can't hang out with you tonight because I just want to be alone by myself and I'm not really in the mood to connect." Like that authenticity makes me feel like, oh, it actually makes me feel safe because I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I know where I stand with you at all times. You're speaking your honest truth. And also, you trust me enough
Mm-hmm.
to tell me how you genuinely feel. So many of us are so afraid to choose ourselves because we're afraid of like what other people are going to think, or they're like, what the fuck? What do you mean you don't want to see me because you want to spend time with yourself, right? But it's like, no, the more that you are able to connect with individuals that have that capability, it just grows the trust between you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting. This past weekend, I went to go visit my grandma. So I went to my dad's hometown here in Mexico, in cerca de Guadalajara, close to Guadalajara. And it's like a small Mexican town in the middle of nowhere. And let me tell you, boundaries are not a thing there, you know? And it was so interesting to be there and just to be surrounded, by family and friends that just like don't give a fuck about what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Like they would ask me something 5 times and I kept having to say no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's funny, and it's you can tell that they would get annoyed that I kept saying no, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I fucking said no,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I remember one time, I wanted to do my own thing for a little bit because I was feeling a little overwhelmed with all of the family, and my cousin was like, "Oh, we're gonna go back to the house and do like a barbecue. Let's go." And I said, "No, I'm gonna like take a few minutes to myself down here." She goes, literally badgered me. No, no, come on, no, no, you don't have to do that. We're gonna go to the house. I was like, no, I'm gonna be, and then I said, no, I'll see you in an hour. I'm gonna stay here. And
Yeah.
she's like, okay, fine. You know what I mean? But
Oh my
it was like,
gosh.
oh my God. And of course, we don't want to disappoint others. And I think that's the other part of this, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
learning how to express boundaries and then learning how to sit in the discomfort of someone's disappointment of
Mm-hmm.
you. Ugh.
It's
Yeah,
so
or how to,
yeah, just even you were just describing that scenario, I was like, oh, I feel uncomfortable. Like,
yeah, I'm just like, I know, I
but
know.
it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, in CBT therapy, they call it distress tolerance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like how much distress can you tolerate,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
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 Ugh.
Ugh, I know. Why and so yeah, like this so this fear of rejection, this fear of disappointment, why like how does this show up then in relationships, like in specifically with love and sex?
Oh man, oh my God. It's shows up everywhere, right? Because well, here's the thing, right? It's a lot of things to consider. So one, the nature of a basic human need is attachment.
Hmm.
Another basic human need is authenticity,
Hmm.
right? So that's important to acknowledge that there's two basic human needs, attachment and authenticity. And then there's this other element of sex is the most vulnerable thing that we engage in as humans.
Hmm.
I mean, your ass is in the air, your body is in the most compromising positions, right? Oxytocin is flying everywhere, so you build attachment through sexual connection, right?
Hmm.
Um, It's vulnerable as hell.
Hmm.
And it's funny because obviously Brene Brown has her definition of vulnerability, but if you look up vulnerability in like a basic dictionary, you know what it says?
Mm-mm.
It says to be susceptible to attack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
You
I know when I saw, I
know,
was like,
yeah.
oh, like no wonder we hate vulnerability because it's like,
Yeah.
oh shit, like if I'm vulnerable with you, you can actually hurt me,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
So navigating all of this, it's like, okay, how do I how can I be authentic? Trust that if I'm rejected, I will be okay no matter what, even if it hurts,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then be courageous enough, which is what Brene Brown
Hmm.
talks about, be courageous enough to be vulnerable. Because unfortunately, you can't build intimacy and connection without vulnerability,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And you also can't build intimacy and connection without authenticity.
Yeah.
So whenever you don't have this understanding and you allow for like the anxiety to take over of the attachment, right? Or like the fear of rejection, that's when people just don't tell the truth or hide their truest desires or don't express their boundaries because they're so scared that if they do, their partners are going to judge them or they're going to reject them or, and worst case scenario, leave them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, how does this show up in relationships? It shows up all the time.
Hmm.
And really breaking this pattern is not just like, okay, every time you have sex, be honest. It's about learning how to be honest in every moment of every day. Right. When I got into Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, one of the things that my sponsor had me do, which fucked me up in the best way, is she like, I'm giving you a challenge. I don't like, you can't lie for the next 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time I did it, I was so scared. And then I realized how much I lie, one,
Mm-hmm.
right? And two, how much beauty there is in just speaking the truth and how much less anxious we can be if we're just honest.
Mm.
Because even though there's all these fears that come up in my experience and in a lot of the experiences of my clients, whenever we're lying to others to keep the peace, right? It feels good in the moment, but then it's always going to be followed by chaos inside, right? But if we're able to be honest, it might feel really uncomfortable in the beginning, but then it's always followed by inner peace,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So it's a journey. It's a journey that we all get to go on.
Yeah.
And it's probably, in my opinion, just like the most liberating journey that we can go on is
Mm-hmm.
understanding being authentic, being honest, and trusting that we will connect with people through that authenticity and that honesty.
Hmm. Yeah. And yeah, so you work a lot with clients in this. And when you're sitting here, I'm like, I wish I could just have like Brene Brown or you in my pocket all the time. And it's like when these moments arise in life, you could be like, Rachel, here's the opportunity. Like choose authenticity. But that we can't have that. So I'm curious for people that are listening, like how can somebody tell when they're being that honest, true version of them, or when they're maybe, yeah, like hiding themselves, dimming their light, playing small? Do you have any, yeah, any indicators of that?
So I need to make this so abundantly clear because I'm 35 years old and I feel like it's just now finally being integrated in my
Mhm.
brain. Like, oh, okay. This isn't just like something you do once and then you stop.
Yeah.
In order to create transformation in your life, it is vital, required, essential that you practice this on a moment to moment basis,
Hmm.
moment to moment, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, right? So it's just being conscious of yourself. And honestly, what I would suggest is for people to start with a 7 day no lying challenge
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's going to up your awareness. For those
When
seven
you,
days,
yeah, when you said that, I was like, man, like, so when I'm actually irritated by something, and my husband was like, what's going on? Like, how was your day? And I was like, it was fine. It's like, no, I actually just got off a really shitty client call or like whatever happened, you know? And I mean, that's technically a lie.
hmm
It's
And
interesting.
then get this, you have 24 hours to be able to, what is it called?
Like, correct it,
To
basically.
correct the
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah.
So if you did say fine, then you have 24 hours to be like, hey, when you asked me and I said fine,
Mhm.
actually I wasn't fine. This is what I
Mhm.
actually felt, right?
Mhm.
So I would say that's a really beautiful place to start. Give
Yeah.
yourself a 7-day no lying challenge and just start to become aware of how many times you lie to keep the peace because you're afraid of rejection, whatever it may be.
Mhm.
And I think that's already going to up the awareness. Now, I'm going to tell you what's been working for me and what I do with my clients. I recently just did a literally one, and this one session already blew my mind. I already signed up for a whole coaching package because I'm excited. But internal family systems therapy, parts work therapy. Holy shit. Oh my God, where
Mhm.
the fuck have I been?
You got to read the book No Bad Parts if you
I'm
haven't
reading
yet.
it right now.
Oh, so
Yeah,
good.
I'm
Yeah.
reading it right now, and I'm
Yeah.
just like it's just blowing my mind. The
Hmm.
reason why I bring that up is because once you start to meet your parts, you kind of start to like, I'm probably gonna sound crazy saying this, but I literally talk to my parts all the
Yes.
time now. Like I
Not
check in with
crazy.
them.
Not crazy. Totally relate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I check in with them all that. So it's kind of nice because I think a lot of people have a hard time talking to themselves.
Hmm.
And what the cool thing about parts work is that it like externalizes parts of yourself. So it's almost like I'm not talking to myself, I'm talking to this little part of myself.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that has really helped me. So
Hmm.
I highly recommend for individuals to find some type of therapy modality that can support them in making sense of what's happening inside them. For me, parts work has been the thing that is helping me right now, and I'm excited to dive deeper into it. And then another way that I do this with my clients, and which is similar to parts work, kind of,
Hmm.
is to have them get a picture of themselves when they were a child, put
Hmm.
it as like their lock screen on their phone, and whenever they feel scared to be honest or whatever, to look at that little child and pretend that that child is telling them how they feel and responding back to that child. So if
Hmm.
like their 3-year-old version is saying, I'm so scared to tell my husband that I had a shitty day because I feel bad that I'll be ruining his day. And
Hmm.
I don't want to do that, right? And you could be like, hey, it's okay. You're allowed to have feelings. You can check in with him and see if he has emotional space for you. It's okay. Your feelings are valid, right? So
Hmm.
even doing that is nice, but I find that externalizing the experience helps a lot of people. And just remembering that it's not just something you do once and that's it. It's something that you got to do all the time.
Hmm. Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, great recommendations. And yeah, the more you're talking, I was like, I wish you need to come work with us. Like you would fit in so well with our group of sex coaches and whatnot. And we have, yeah, we'll chat when we're done recording. But I'm like,
Yeah, I'd love
you
to
need
learn
to be
more.
with us.
Yeah, I'd love to learn more. Sounds great.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if we're leaning more into performance and like this people pleasing or like I want to keep the peace like mode of in relationship, how does this how does this actually lead to more disconnect in the partnership and within intimacy?
Yeah. Here's the thing.
Hmm.
And this is so basic, but it's fucking true. I'm sorry. It's just like, it's so true. This has nothing to do with you and your partner.
Hmm.
This has everything to do with you and yourself.
Hmm.
When
Hmm.
I was cheating on my partner didn't know. But whenever I put my head on the pillow at night, I felt like shit.
Hmm.
I hated myself. I was always anxious. I was always like, where's my phone? Just like, and like that inner chaos was fucking horrible,
Hmm.
right? You're literally living in your own hell. So I would say instead of looking at how is my relationship with my partner, I would encourage people to ask themselves, how do I feel on a day-to-day basis? And do I have peace of mind?
Hmm.
Do I feel calm? Do I feel like I'm speaking my truth? Am I in alignment with myself? Right? Because when you're in alignment with yourself, when you have peace of mind, when you are speaking the truth, that connection and intimacy that you experience from that place is real, is authentic, right? It relaxes your nervous system. You're
Hmm.
able to like just calm the fuck down, right? And also, when you're in that state, hello, your body needs to be in a full state of relaxation to be receptive to sexual pleasure, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So the sex is better, the orgasms are stronger, the
Hmm.
communication's greater, you laugh more, you experience more joy, you have an improved quality of life,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But when you're not doing those things, when you're lying to keep the peace, when you're not speaking your truth, when you're not asking for your desires, you're not setting your boundaries, all of those things, the exact opposite happens. You have inner chaos. You're anxious, you're stressed out, you're scared of intimacy,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um, and of course, your body is tense, it closes up, and your body won't be able to experience the full level of pleasure that it can experience,
Mhm.
right? So, a lot of this is like really checking in with yourself. Like, how are you feeling on a day-to-day basis? How is that impacting your relationship? And how is that impacting your own sexual expression, right? The pleasure that you feel, the excitement that you feel. Yeah, I think that's a really great place for folks to really start reflecting on
Mhm.
that.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree too. I think that the relationship with self, and I talk about this often with clients too, and I'm thinking about where priorities lie. Like self has to be number one. Like
Mhm.
you can't, yeah, I know though, you can't pour from an empty cup is like a common phrase, but it is also so true. Like if we're in that depleted energy or if we're in that scared, that fear, that worry, anxiety in that state. I like that you linked it to the nervous system too, because you're exactly right. Like to be fully susceptible to pleasure, to orgasm, to a good overall like sexual experience with somebody, you have to be in that regulated state. Like if not, your body literally thinks that a lion is attacking you. So you're on defense. You're in the and yeah, I know that's like the number one thing in my practice with women is like why am I not turned on? Why am I not experiencing desire more? What's wrong with me? It's like there's nothing wrong with you. And we can learn how to like hold and support yourself more in this. And the authenticity piece is such a huge component of that and the vulnerability piece of that, right? Like being, again, that bravery, like being brave enough to share the thing, say the thing. And then if you don't get the reaction that you want, knowing that you can hold and support yourself through that, I think is like the best gift that we can give somebody. Like having that feeling like I got me, like I can get through this is gold.
The self-trust. And I think it's important to note this too, that this shit is not easy.
Mm-mm.
And something that I tell my clients is like, look, you've been living an inauthentic life for however many years. You might have to start saying goodbye to some people.
Mhm.
You might have to start cleaning up house.
Yeah.
And that's scary as hell,
Mhm.
right? And I think the scariest thing that, my clients experience is like, oh my God, I'm just not compatible with my partner. Like who I am authentically does not mesh with who they are.
Mhm.
And going on this journey takes a lot of courage because it's scary to come to those conclusions. But I always go back to this. There's no better, I think, grounding um, practice than just being like gently reminded of your mortality.
Mhm.
Like, you're not here forever. You're the author of your own life. Do you want to live a life that's riddled by anxiety and fear? Or do you want to live a life that's joyful and exciting and playful and fun? Right. And the cost of living that life is leaning into that authenticity and trusting that whatever comes of it is just going to make your life 10 times better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for normalizing that too. I think, yeah, we don't want to sugarcoat things around here. Like yes, it's going to be hard and it's going to be messy and it's going to be crunchy and awkward and sad and all the things. And what you unlock on the other side of that is so much better than what you're probably experiencing right now in your relationships. I like my husband and I this last year and a half have been also going through it like deep in the healing work and we've been together for 13 years. Like, and we're just, not that we're just now doing it, but like, we've decided just now, like, let's do this shit. Like, let's like really get intentional and more present and more authentic, really, in our relationship. And fuck yeah, there's been some moments of like, okay, like, what do, whoa, didn't expect that to come through, you know? But yeah, just to be in that, and not to say again, like, you don't have to do this with your partner. But that's, yeah, I think if you're doing the self work too, and then like to bring in,
I also want to say for individuals that are dating,
hmm
because I'm right now, I'm telling you, parts work has fucked me up in the best way because I'm like, oh shit, I do want a life partner. Right. Um, and you know what? That also means when you're dating, learning how to be like, this is what I want. Are we on the same page?
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not, okay, bye.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I just had to do that. And girl, let me tell you, I did not want to say goodbye to this man. But I was like, I just knew that if I spent more time with him, it would not be good for me. So
Mm-hmm.
navigating also dating while being authentic and being true to yourself and risking losing someone that you really, really like
Mm-hmm.
is part of it too.
Or love potentially, or
Or
have, yeah,
love.
over a decade experience with and partnership with. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I really like Danny Morell's work. I don't know if you follow him at all. He does the
Oh,
Awaken retreats, and he, yeah, he talks a lot about this of when we're in partnership, same, very similar to you, and like the true authenticity and how breakups are, actually can be such a beautiful gift that we give to ourselves and give to our partners when we are able to say, yeah, this isn't in full alignment with me, and that's okay. This, again, it doesn't have to be that bad blood or yeah, like hate towards each other. It could be a conscious uncoupling, right? Is the new buzzword I feel like these days. Um, but yeah, highly recommend his stuff too. I'll be getting to one of his Awaken events here soon. He's great.
okay. Yeah, I just wrote it down. Danny Morel, Awaken
Hmm. Hmm.
Retreats. I'll
Hmm.
check it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh, this has been so great. Yeah, it's been really great to chat with you and get to know you and just, yeah, discuss this authenticity. I feel like very like fired up over here. Like we're,
Woo!
like,
Yeah, let's get fired up.
yeah, like I'm doing this in like 7 day no line, and when my husband gets home, I'll be like, hey, we're not. And I know I already know the look. He's gonna be like, what do you like? How you lie to me? Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean we're not lying? I'm like, hear me out, hear me out.
Yeah, it's a really, really great place to start. That's
Hmm.
a really awesome place to start being very aware of yourself, where you're not in alignment with yourself, where you're not speaking truth. And so yeah, I encourage everyone to start that today. And if you do do it, please DM me on Instagram and tell me how it's going so I can cheer
Hmm.
you on. I would love to
Hmm.
support people through that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you would agree, but extending this, we're not just saying this in terms of partnership. Like for
No,
me,
in general.
yeah, in general, I know I'm like thinking like if he takes this on with me, like his how this is going to affect his work and just some shit that he's been battling and navigating with his work right now. And thankfully, again, the group of women that I work with, like we practice this on the daily of like tell me how you really feel, like tell me what's really going on, and we're gonna hold and love and support you through that, no matter what it is. So I feel, yeah, I constantly just like feeling so grateful for that container and that space.
That's amazing. Yeah, we all need that community for
Mhm.
sure. I'm very grateful that I have amazing friends that I can be very honest with, and they
Mhm.
will always be honest with me too.
Yeah. And that's, yeah, we could probably go on another tangent with that. Just the importance of community, as you said, like those are your closest friends. And I would say same, it's the friends that like we've really gone through something together. We've navigated something together that was painful, hurtful, sad, frustrating, right? Like, yeah, those are my people. Those are the ones that I keep going back to, and keep showing up for.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Hmm.
I love that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so you work with people, you do this type of work. How can people find you, get in contact with you? Like what's the best way?
Of course. So my website is www.jocelynsilva.com, JocelynSilva. And then my Instagram is at I am Jocelyn Silva. So I have digital courses that support individuals. Right now, I'm actually working on a mini course that helps women communicate their desires.
Mhm.
So I'm really excited for this one. It should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. But I
Mhm.
also do one-on-one coaching with all genders and couples. So you can go on my website, schedule a connection call with me, and I offer 6 and 12 week packages, but you can always extend from there. The longest standing client, I think I've worked with them for almost 4 years. So
Mhm.
you don't have to stop, but I always like to, it's good to start with a small container and then take it from there. So yeah, but that's the best way to contact me.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much again, Jocelyn, for coming on today. This was a great conversation.
Thank you. It's been great. I've had so much fun. Thank you.